All right, first we need to talk about alkalinity.
This test is really hard.
Alkalinity is what?
Should we be writing this?
No, because it's in here.
The measure of alkaline solids?
Yeah, it's a measure.
Okay.
You got that part.
But isn't that like a characteristic of some kind of element that it's?
Well, it's measured in parts per million of calcium carbonate.
Okay.
What it measures is how easy or how hard it is to change the pH of a given sample of water. So let's say that I had neutral water from the tap. pH is 7. And I go and I add some sulfuric acid. What's the pH of that water going to do?
Go down.
Immediately?
No.
Maybe. Yeah.
1 drop, is that going to make the pH go down?
No. Depends on
2 drops is going to make the pH go down.
Well, more than one drop.
Okay. Could 1 drop make the pH go down?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay. And it all depends on the alkalinity of that water, of that sample water. If the alkalinity is high, it resists change to an acid drop in the pH. So if there was no alkalinity in my water, water of pH of 7, 0 alkalinity, I could add 1 tiny drop of an acid and it would drop the pH. If I had a high alkalinity in my pH of 7 and I added 1 drop of acid, it wouldn't do anything to the pH. I had 2 drops, it might not do anything. And the higher my alkalinity, the more drops of very, very low pH acid I can add to my water sample, and the water sample still stays at neutral. Okay, we measure this in parts per million of calcium carbonate. Another way you can express this is milliequivalents per liter, or this is going to go, I think your lab puts it in microequivalents per liter. And the conversion factor from parts per million to microequivalents is you multiply by 20.
That's it?
That's it.
Cool.
So if the alkalinity is 20 parts per million of CaCO3, it's the same thing as saying the alkalinity is 400 microequivalents per liter of CaCO3. Okay, so it's just multiplied by 20. I have some samples here, and we're going to look at some pHs and some alkalinities. We got to do an alkalinity titration. So the first thing is we're going to look at pHs. So there's a couple of different ways to do the pH. This is an indicator strip. I can get it open. Why can't I get this open? Indicator strips, and I can take a strip of this paper, drop it in to a sample of water, and compare the color to the color chart. So if I do that, it looks like that this pH is 5.5. But I know the pH of tap water is not 5.5. This is not a very good indicator. It's quick and easy, but it's not very precise. So another way to do it are these pH test strips, which is a little better. This just has more indicators.
Why would we do the first one, the unprecise one at all?
Cheaper.
Is that what you use in fish tanks?
Yeah.
It's just like a broader, easier.
Yeah.
Cheaper.
The consumer.
Basically, this is going to tell me if it's really acidic or really basic.
Okay.
This is a little bit better. It's a little bit easier. I dump this in, and I can compare according to this color chart. But it's still not going to give me a great indication of the pH because it leaves a lot to interpret with the colors. This version is a little better. This one is it's got 2 little clear cards with colors in it, and you take a sample with an indicator solution, and you add it into the vial, and then you look and you can compare.
So is that really like the best way to do it?
So yeah, other than like a digital meter.
I've tried an Oscar fish, so like I've tried it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've got a digital meter, but the batteries are out.
Oh.
And so I went to go take the batteries out. I'll just replace the batteries. And then those little tiny disc batteries, you know.
Who need batteries?
Yeah. So who in the world is going to have those at school? So I'm going to take. This is the sample. This is tap water. So I'm just going to fill this up to 10 milliliters, just to get the pH. And I'll add 10 drops of the indicator. So it's kind of greenish yellow, which tells me it, like the top one is it's 7. So if I put it in here and I read, it's right at 7. I could compare it to this one and maybe 6.5. I'd say somewhere between 6.5 and 7, which is exactly what we would expect from tap water, which is a lot different than, you know, when we read it at like 4.5 from here, or, you know, close to 6 here. It's just a little bit more precise. So the pH is what we'd expect from tap water. I made a solution of sulfuric acid in water. It's very diluted solution, but we're going to call this our acid rain. So it's going to symbolize or represent what.
It's like a dangerous way to pour that.
It will kill you instantly.
I mean,
It melts your skin.
it's 0.05 molar hydrochloric sulfuric acid, 0.05 molar,
Okay, so that's like nothing.
and it's 20 milliliters of that and 250 milliliters of water.
So you could almost drink it.
I wouldn't, but
Do it.
If
Something
you
like
could, it probably wouldn't be too bad.
all right. So we turn regular water a greenish yellow, which indicates a pH of somewhere between 6.5 and 7. A low pH is going to be here, the reddish color. So I would expect as soon as I pour this indicator, it's going to turn a reddish pink. 10 drops of this.
10?
10 drops and it turned red. Cap it.
Wow.
That's pretty red.
Pretty red. Compare it. And I'd say it's a little bit redder than 3, but this indicator only goes down to 3. And it told me that in the lab handout, it said that this solution would give you a pH of about 2.1. So exactly what we'd expect.
Classic water.
So that's that. Now we'll do an alkalinity test. Alkalinity test is not as simple as the pH test because we have to run a titration. And let me put this back. So here's all the stuff that I need for the titration. And we will do it with our water. There's no sense doing it with the acid rain. We're going to do it with our water sample. That's what we drink. It's good to have a high alkalinity because it resists the change to pH. So if something were to happen and something were of low pH to get into our water system, our water has the ability to hang on to its neutrality, right? It doesn't drop in pH quick, which corrodes the pipe, and then we'd have the whole Flint, Michigan deal here in Jefferson, which we certainly don't want.
What in our water causes that?
What causes alkalinity?
Yeah.
Calcium carbonate.
Oh,
So that's why they add that.
yeah. I missed that.
Yeah.
That's why all your water is carbonated.
Yes.
Oh.
And calcinated.
All right, so here we go with alkaline. All right, 5 milliliter line. Add that. So I'll take the sample water and I'm going to add up to the 5 milliliter line. Talk about some added pressure doing this on video.
Yeah, we're all gonna look back and scrutinize over every mistake.
Probably so.
Like a little compilation.
Like you do every day anyway.
Pretty much. But it'll be easier to reenact.
Oops. All right, so then it says add 1 indicator tablet. So these little tablets.
Oh, he's got drugs.
I got drugs. Not really.
Got one videos.
You got those video.
We're going to take that one out of context.
Edit that one. Shake it till it dissolves. If it's got no alkalinity in it, it will turn red or yellow. And it does have alkalinity, which is good, so it turns blue.
So water is blue.
What is water wet?
It's milk wet.
Yes.
Oh, y'all gotta stop. All right, now here comes the titration. So I take the titration solution.
Oh, we got needles?
Oh no.
Told you I got drugs.
You don't have drugs.
Second one. It's the second.
Now pretend to inject it in so I can add.
All right, so this is what you do. So right now I've zeroed off with this titration solution, and what I'm looking for is drop by drop. I'll add it, I'll shake it up, and I'm looking for the exact moment that this turns pink. So I'll just give it just a couple of drops. And I'll give it a swirl. Nothing yet. Starting to turn.
Full.
Mm-hmm.
But I hadn't turned yet. There it goes.
Ooh,
Well,
pretty.
I'd say that's purple, not pink yet. So one more drop.
You try.
There's pink. Y'all say that's pink, or you want one more?
One more.
Pour the rest of it in.
That's pink.
All right, that's pink. Okay.
That's pink.
So I read off my graduation here, and I'm at about 250. So this is about 250. So that reports in parts per million of CaCO3. So we've got an alkalinity of 250 CaCO3.
Both glass wrong.
What? And we know that we have added alkalinity. We saw them add alkalinity at the at the water treatment plant. And they do that for a good reason. So there is the alkalinity. We're going to look, when I do this demonstration, we're going to look and see how different substances, like different soil and different rocks, will buffer the acid rain out. But in the meantime, I want you guys to start doing your lab stations over here, and I'll get this ready to go, and we'll be done. Okay?
We got 3 groups.
3 groups. Y'all need glasses. Or at least one group will.
I got it clear.
That's one of my
Okay, hit me up with that next one.
All right, add one drop of bromethymol blue.
Because mine was more.
This is bromethanol, bro.
I'm getting that, but
Brothel.
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 A single,
brothel
a single
blue.
drop.
Okay.
One drop.
Single drop. Yeah.
What do you need a straw for?
We're
So we're
activity 3, he said.
3.
Y'all are
Oh.
3.
Oh.
We didn't another set of goggles.
Rotating station.
Okay, now what?
Acid rain on human.
Determine if the pH of the water is acidic or basic.
Half a piece of
Wait.
salt.
Okay.
This must
Bromethymol
be
blue
this
is
is
blue
up-
at
this
or
is-
above
we're doing number
pH
1 right now. Is this
7.6.
station 1?
And Yevon, you get like yellow at or below 6.
This is the one where you blow with the straw. I don't know which one it is.
Booty cheek on that seat.
Exhale gently through straw.
Yeah.
That's activity 1. This is station 1.
Oh,
Okay.
oh,
You said station 2 earlier. So I got rid of this. No, you're good.
Oh, I guess so.
That looks fairly blue to me. Stir it up some more. Keep going.
I don't know.
They already have their blue.
That would be.
It doesn't matter. Just jump in somewhere.
Determine if the pH is water acidic.
Alright.
Blue is blue at or above pH 7.6.
This is safely blue.
pH 7.6.
That's for sure blue.
I'm just, it's like a light blue. Okay.
All right. And that's just regular water, right?
So it's above
Yes.
7.6 pH.
At or above.
Or at. Yes.
At or above.
So that's, so we're good on that. Where's our lab note? Do we have a write-up anywhere, or are we just being recorded?
Just,
So it's just,
hey, just rough. John, you write down beside it. Whatever. There's nowhere to write.
I was going to say, that would look like a big thing.
Oh, it was already more broken.
Okay, recorded it.
A lot of us even wear the same
Carson is the recorder, which I actually.
Now, pipette
Hot cross buns.
5 milliliters of water into the second test tube. Exhale gently through a straw into the water for 30 seconds.
After we get 5 pipe.
Yeah.
Okay.
I want to blow in it.
No, just do it in general. Let's go.
Smart group.
That's a long
Scream into it.
30 seconds.
I'm going to yabble.
Do it.
Powder?
Do it
Like that.
3 times for 10
Yeah, like that. Like that.
Which one are we on?
For
I'll think hit it some more.
They really did. Oh.
There we go.
Karen's job.
Is this stuff safe to touch?
Yeah.
If we have no love.
Do it, do it.
I'm just picking out the cool.
Wait, we get a
It
timer.
says
Oh, yeah. This is
This is
legit.
cool.
Are you blowing?
You gotta make it bubble.
Each of the beakers.
Oh. Hold
Dissolve.
on, let me start.
No. Put it all the way in there.
Oh,
Oh.
you gotta blow really hard for that.
Where's our fake acid rain?
That's too much.
I hope that got it.
That's too much.
I hope you're in the picture.
What is our acid
Well, what are you
rain?
doing over
I
there?
think
Is this our acid rain?
That's acid. Yeah.
Drinking out. It says acid rain.
Yes. So this is concentrated acid rain. So it's just gonna
Okay.
Do it fast.
do it faster. There you go. All right. Be careful when you pour that.
All right.
Yeah. You got this. 50 milliliters.
Big, huh?
You need 25, right?
Yes, 25.
25 and 25.
That's good.
Wait.
Oh, so.
Did it.
All right. Add 1 drop of
Love that.
Stop. It doesn't have to be perfect.
Oh my god. Oh, actually, oh, I don't know.
You can put all that zinc in.
All of this?
You know that candy?
Shake it.
You know that candy where you have that hard candy and you drip the sweet stuff onto it? And you-
Yeah.
That's what that
Those
looks
remind
like.
me of like little.
Yeah, a little bit.
The,
Wow, I'm very acidic,
Sour-
aren't I?
the sour, the
Sour, sweet sour, I don't know. Something like
This
that.
turns yellow.
Yeah, it's yellowish.
It's yellowish.
Let's check for some water yellow. Blue, yellow. Success.
Nothing. Bubble.
Hard work.
Okay.
Buzzwords.
Is that at the back of this thing?
Environment.
All right, we're gonna start. Ready?
So this is modeling acid rain, correct though?
Okay.
Hey, make sure you guys wear your glasses.
I have that. Only issue is.
I've read
Do you know how to
times,
count?
but I think you've seen all the movies.
Tilt and rotate.
This is waste.
Start with a dry test tube and then straight cut. Test tube. There's still
I don't like.
And here's your mortar and
I
pestle.
wanna do it.
There you go, Sarah, you do.
Yeah. Why are you the worst at that? It's not good.
Just kind of swirl it around, like, yeah, just coat the whole inside.
Let me drop some three.
I love this stuff.
I want to do it. No, you're gonna crush it. I'm gonna
What does invert the test tube mean?
Upside down.
And clamp it to ring stand. Help me.
Upside down. Inverted.
Oh wait. Yes.
I mean, don't get it out of the camera.
I think we're good. Oh, it's still in.
It's like a YouTube channel, guys. Come on.
I don't want to turn upside down. I'm nervous.
This is funny.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's cool. There you go.
Yeah.
Okay, ready?
I hope not.
I love it.
So this is the monster.
And it's okay if it drips out a little bit.
Invert this.
What are we doing?
How do we determine that?
All right, so it's blue right now, which indicates base. All right, so now strike a match and hold it so the smoke goes up into the test tube.
Like right here.
Yeah.
There's a person. We're over here, you're with us.
Lauren's
Hi,
waiting.
you're on our team.
I'm just saying hi to Lauren.
No.
What are they
I mean, don't burn it.
Don't burn the test tube.
Just get the smoke.
Okay.
It smells like s'mores.
So now what?
You gotta wear it.
It turned yellow.
All right. So you see that? It turned yellow? Okay. And yellow indicates the presence of the acid.
Trim yellow.
Okay.
Welcome back.
Using a mortar.
So it's above
Yep,
Screwdriver.
blue.
Still the mortar and pestle.
Are you sure?
Yeah.
Okay. Okay. So crush it.
I
want to crush it.
Top one into the second test tube.
Use what you got.
Be aggressive.
Don't crush it in the powder, but just in the little bits.
Be a man. Yes. Dang. Hey, go, keep going. Oops. I'm sorry. Don't kill it.
This said on number 2.
Is that good? Keep going. Keep going. A little bit more. Get the big pieces. No, one big piece is not right. There we go. Don't think that's good? There, okay. Place the chalk in a small beaker.
Where's number
So one of those.
It's
Place
procedure
the
number activity number 1.
mossy zinc. Should we have dried it first? It's okay. It's fine. In the other small beaker. Is there anything in it? Zinc. I think it's right there. Oh, do we use this? Oh, yes, we use that.
You know you can die, right?
All right. Using the graduated cylinder, measure and pour 25 milliliters of the concentrated acid rain into each of the beakers.
Sorry, I was like talking about that.
You.
Oh. I completely forgot.
Sarah.
Oh, my bad.
All right, now how to draw.
Please said maybe it is my problem.
Oh, God.
I'm gonna tell us.
Here you go.
Shake it off.
Like soda.
I like that.
Delicious.
Yellow.
All right, I'm gonna say the shot.
What's the bathroom?
So it's
Beautiful,
acidic.
Sarah.
No.
You're doing
I
awesome.
like that a lot. It just says
Oh, you guys like that? The zinc
All right.
does
How do we
nothing.
dispose of
Wow.
these again?
That was exciting.
Maybe it's just doing things very slowly.
I'm thinking it's doing nothing.
Cool.
That's just an excuse to be lazy, Zing. Just an excuse to be
All the lot
lazy.
paper. Who wants to wash
I
this
should
out?
put the lid back on this.
For 5
Safety.
minutes, who's counting? I don't have one.
Oh.
That's not
I mean, I have one to scoop out
You
my
go
pumpkins,
to
but like, I don't know why we need it here.
We can
Count
probably
300.
pretend like 5 minutes has passed. I mean, it's pretty obvious what's happening, right?
Nothing.
Nothing to zinc.
Yeah.
But it's
it
something
bubbled.
happened. Yeah, and what else?
As
You're kind of
said,
right
It's
until
getting
you get to the end.
It disappeared.
Yeah, it dissolves.
Yeah, let's say
Those bubbles
you just kind of
Say
disappear.
blue, so you just gotta insert it there. What I don't know what activity.
Okay.
activity one.
Now we dispose
Okay,
of it.
We good?
Yep.
Number 3, I just said that it's above 7.6 as the first thing. So activity 3.
Above 7.
A little bit differently because it says to use the test strips to indicate the pH, but I'm gonna rock one with basalt, one with granite, and one with marble chips. And then I've made 3 soil samples. There's sand, there's humus, and here's clay. And we're gonna run the acid rain, this solution of sulfuric acid and water in through these tubes and in here, and we're going to check the pH of everything to see how each substance buffers the pH, the alkalinity of each thing. So here we go. It says to pipette 5 milliliters, but I'm going to grab a graduated cylinder. And I'm just going to do 15 or so through each one. They're looking at.
Nothing. What are you looking at?
Monkey.
It's the thing where the
Here's
monkey
the-
helps you shoot right at.
He does not.
No, that one, I think that was one.
So there's
Is he casting a spell?
15 there.
Do you think he's going up
He's a wizard.
this way?
Is that monkey real fancy?
It's like a lasso.
He's a good one. Personally, I like Paul.
All right, here comes through the soil.
Like Ringo the chameleon.
Like Ringo, you know Johnny Depp.
I can't wait to listen to all y'all talk about this stuff on this recording we're doing.
It's gonna be a bunch of nonsense.
It usually is.
So what's the difference?
So I was out with it the other day. I was
Yeah.
I didn't have his home. And
I
so,
actually.
What's the difference between what?
The 3 test tubes.
Basalt, granite, marble. Sand, clay, humus.
Why is that one yellow?
Clay is not one to drain.
It's
Is it?
evil, I'm telling you.
That's a good thing, right?
All right, so I'm gonna go ahead and shake this a little bit.
I think I've got some of that acid in there.
All right, here is basalt.
I prefer
What was that?
He thought it was funny, so he laughed.
Carson made an awesome joke that I've never heard funnier.
A funnier?
That's like a 90%.
All right, basalt,
The emotion's not here.
and then 10 drops.
Yeah.
Yeah, she's missing it.
All right, basalt. I would say basalt would be somewhere around 3 to 3.5. Here comes granite.
That's a really useful thing.
For countertops.
And people always take it for it.
You did a video, aren't you? As long as you know video.
Why haven't you seen that video?
I don't know. I didn't know if you ever done it. We didn't show you that video. It's a good one. It's real dumb.
You guys find a place like that?
Balance. I'm gonna say 4.
Solid 5.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with 3.5 on this one.
Yes.
Is that marble?
3.5 to 4.
Or granite?
That's granite.
3.5 to 4 is granite. Yeah. I'll rinse these out.
Faster.
Yeah, one way.
They only had rice, orange.
All right, last up is marble.
I know him.
Yeah, he's a great teacher.
He really is. I'm glad he got AP certified. Is he just teaching 1 and Meredith's teaching AP Physics 2?
I don't know.
Somebody actually answer that question.
No,
If he got AP certified, is he teaching AP Physics 1 and Meredith's teaching AP Physics 2? Or are they both teaching? Yeah.
You know, rumor has it that I quit. I guess you could say
I'm
we're doing a lot.
not going to school after this year. I'm done.
You know, rumor has it the world is flat and nothing matters.
Rumor has it I'm a
You know, I actually read an article the other day.
So, get over.
That one is the same as marble.
This is marble.
That is.
I'd say
3 to 3.5 again.
You're all lizard people.
I'd say this is between 3 and 3.5.
I was right.
All right. We are not getting any drainage through
I
here.
thought that was really fun. The lizard people.
All right, so let's do the same thing with what we filtered off through sand. Does sand have?
I don't think you're gonna have enough clay to do that.
Yeah. We'll have to force it through or something.
Rumor has a shooting.
It's because of that low permeability held by clay. So I guess silt is just the perfect in between.
Clay has got a lot or a very low level of sinusoidal deformation. So
Yeah, I read that.
You're so funny.
When? I didn't hear that.
Like 2 weeks ago.
What is it?
Oh,
Caleb from Houston broke up.
Probably.
you know,
Sand.
thinking makes sense.
Probably.
3 or better or lower. 3 or lower is pretty red.
For sand.
Hey, it's okay. Man, you
What
know,
about the hummus?
3 or lower.
humble.
Stay humble.
Yeah.
When it's like 3 or lower, it's like a 2.
Yeah, lower than 3.
Yeah.
For sure.
Ain't nobody praying for.
I was just watching.
Okay.
Which one are we doing now?
Humus.
Have you heard that one joke about humans?
That is actually hummus.
Like, watch my neck. Like, melts. Yours doesn't go out as far.
It hurts. Like I'm like walking my juggy.
Ooh, we should go hunt that. Scratching the wall with my hands and holding a text in a bunch of something.
He like I've almost made him pass out before. He has turned ghost white.
Between 3.5 and 3.
That is for hummus.
Humus.
Can I have Sarah Henry for checkout?
She already went to go change clothes, so she's on her way.
Bye-bye.
All right. Apparently, Clay does not like to.
Be permeable.
Yeah, it's not very.
Wait,
permanent.
so it's 3.
Evil, it's ugly.
Poke some holes in it.
Muddy, it's horrible.
Kind of want to.
Yeah, you can blow on.
Kind of want to, but that's a bad idea.
No, cup your hand around and Coach Moore, cup your hand around it and then go your.
That is a good idea.
Is it
It's
gonna
just
work?
gonna blow right back up on you.
I don't think anything came out.
Nothing.
Okay, now jam your thumb down.
Let's see.
Isn't it if you do that, making it not whole?
What?
Well, I'm just gonna have to use some of this and just give an indicator.
Do like one drop?
Because do the best I possibly can with this equipment. All right, so it's pretty yellowy. 3.5, between 3.5 and 4.
So before you drink any water,
Put clay in it.
put clay in it and eat the clay.
All right, and I think that's all the data.
Yeah.
All right.
And cut.
Yeah.